Switch gears here. The debate about reopening schools for the fall. It continues as coronavirus cases rise in many parts of the country, putting a hold on phased reopenings and forcing some businesses to close yet again. Despite all of this, President Trump is continuing his push to have schools open their doors this September. Joining us now is parenting and education expert Karen Aronian. Karen, great to have you here with us today. Certainly want to get your take on some of the tweets that the president sent out early this morning, and I believe that we have some of them as well. First, the president threatening to cut funding to schools who refuse to open for political reasons, and then he sent out a subsequent tweet criticizing his own CDC for its restrictive guidelines, allegedly asking schools to do what the president calls impractical things in order to reopen. So the question to you, what are the biggest risks from your perspective of this process becoming political?
Well, starting in, Brad, the risk of it becoming political would upend what we're trying to accomplish here. We want to get our kids back to school. And quite frankly, the information that came out today is a relief to parents and to educators who want to know what is happening come actually as early this August for most schools who will start in then. We know that right now we have this push to reopen schools, and we're going to get on board with creative thinking, with partnership, and with flexibility, and of course, communication.
I'm glad that you mentioned that creative thinking, because this is a large part of problem solving, right? Is working together to find out what the potential alternatives are, what the options are on the table. Also bearing in mind that for schools, this is some parents' opportunities to continue on in their own workplace capacity, in their employment that they may have when they step away from the home as well. And so as we're thinking through this, you also have this kind of Twitter fingers that's taking place between the president and also some of the governors. Notably, right here in New York, you have Andrew Cuomo saying the federal government does not decide if New York schools reopen, the state does. We will make that decision based on the science and the data. Decision will be announced in the first week of August. At what point is it too late to announce some of these decisions? And then additionally, if I can, particularly what is the science and the data that you think some governors may be looking at right now?
Certainly. What we know with New York State, we're going to have our plan of action in the last week of July. That has already been put out by Andrew Cuomo, our governor. And in respect to how we're going to go forward, most practically, we are going to need this great partnership with our families, with our educators, and of course with our health and safety officials. And those situations are super dependent regionally and in local communities as to what exactly is permissible based on statistics. But again, once you have a 14-day decline, we know that we have the ability to put children into schools in a safe way where people have assurance of how we're going forward. There will be new CDC guidelines as of next week, and those will be extremely informing.
And so as the president has been very vocal on this, the decision ultimately still does come down to governors and state and local entities right now. So if the threats are empty so far, how much power does he actually have here?
So obviously we are all working as districts that combine into a system. And so everyone is going to move forward as safely and productively as they can to bring our children back into schools. We're going to move with our White House guidance and our CDC guidance, and all of that is forthcoming. And then, as they have stated, we do need our local health officials to have our say and our governors to sign off on how we proceed in each local district.
Absolutely. And so with the time that we have left, I got a few big topics I want to get to. Number one, first and foremost, many states and cities, and you talk about the larger system that everything rolls up to, they've taken a severe cut to their budgets for the upcoming fiscal year. And so thinking through the federal government and the kicking of the can when it comes to bailing out states and that being discussed, what do these budget restraints mean for the future of schools as we knew them?
Well, we know we have the CARES distribution, and we understand there will be more care distribution coming forward perhaps. So that does set a degree of possibility for our school districts. But foremost, we're innovators, we're creative thinkers. We can create new ways to come at education, and we are doing so right now. There's been an incredible step forward with our digital and our remote learning, and we are going to be prepared because we are going to be thinking ahead right now. All school districts, academic task forces are putting together planning on generally a district system where we're looking at distance learning, we're looking at remote learning, and we're looking at hybrid. So as we come forward, we're going to have a preparation to move forward creatively, innovatively, reimagine education, and with what funds we have, we will be able to accomplish this. And outreach to community and shared communication between districts is going to be key to make it happen.
I think we would all agree in that we are optimistic that there will be a solution that will make itself known, and that is what's best for the education system as a whole. But certainly we want to keep the best interest of students and children and families in mind as well in that process. So it is going to take creative problem solving, particularly the barriers when we think about moving back into an in-school learning capacity, as many of these students have been learning from home for the past few months. As we go back to focusing on in-school, what are some of the largest things that schools need to consider, and they are wrapping their planning and procedures, their minds around when it comes to those planning and procedures?
Sure. Safety and health are of the utmost importance. Parents can partner with schools to take their children's temperatures before they go to school. The schools can send out a checklist of what they expect in terms of health so that when students are going to school, they have looked at what safety precautions are necessary before they come into school. We're hoping that schools will send out evaluations for students prior to coming into school so they know what perhaps is to be expected in terms of their student body and what needs they want to make known, and so that they can obviously help those students. And we are looking for this partnership that we so clearly need as parents and as teachers, that we can work with our schools, and they're hopefully going to deliver what we would need as parent education, how to best set up our children to succeed when they are doing any one of the three options mentioned. Again, distance, hybrid, or remote. What will parents need to partner with schools to make this coming year a success?
All right, parenting and education expert Karen Aronian, who is joining us here today. Thank you so much for the time, Karen. We appreciate it.